Good morning and welcome to Duncan Green of Momentum Business Development. Duncan, how are you today?
I'm very well, Dave. Thanks very much for the invitation to speak.
It's my pleasure. And I understand you must be growing a beard because you didn't want to show your face on camera today.
Well, yeah, that's right. And technical issues at this end, so apologies about that.
That's okay. We'll just have to look at me in my pseudo library as I sit in my dining room with my books behind me that's on wallpaper. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us. We've had a really good response to these conversations. And what I want to talk to you about is the stuff that you do within Momentum. And so the first thing really for me is what do you think the main issues are going to be for clubs when they start to think about reopening? What are the things they're going to have to overcome?
Well, I think there are three basic strands to that. The first thing is the business is inevitably going to change. Not everyone that they had at the point of lockdown is coming back. We anticipate, and we've done research on this over the years, that the sleep-in membership amounts to possibly between 20 and 25% of their total membership. Even though there may well be some sort of positive health vibe post-virus, we suspect that maybe only 90% of their current customers will come back. Okay. Secondly, on the sales side of it, we think there is going to be a positive bounce, and we anticipate that most clients will get, or most clubs will get, probably a 10% month-on-month increase in sales throughout the first year. That's what we project, just because of the goodwill factor of being allowed out. Yeah. However, you know what? The other side of this is what's about to happen is the world's biggest ever pre-sale. And what we know from experience is that when people exercise after a pre-sale, they train twice as often as they would do normally. So that means that there are going to be all sorts of pressure points for most operators somewhere in their curriculum, classes, gym times, changing rooms at particular peak times. And we anticipate that that's going to cause attrition rates to probably go up by 2 points per month, we think. Right. The net effect of that, Dave, and presumably most of the people on this call are public sector operators, leisure centre operators for the most part.
Yeah, it does tend to be the public sector operators rather than the private sector that are interacting with this, Duncan, yeah.
So just to put some figures around what we've just discussed there. So imagine that you're sat with a leisure centre with an active membership of 2,500, paying, let's say on average, £35 a month. And your monthly sales is probably around 125 new sales a month. And your attrition is 4%. If that 90% come back of the 2,500, and if you get a 10% bounce in the 125, 137, but your 4% goes up to 6% per month attrition, then the bad news is that your revenues for the year are likely to drop by £166,000. Right. And this is, I suppose, the biggest worry that we have at the moment is that nobody's talking about this, and the fact that everything changes because those numbers are real. You know, everybody thinks the game is going to just be like it was before. They'll all come back, they'll all pay, nothing will change. Everything is about to change, Dave. Fear.
Yeah, I think you're right. And what's the history, Duncan, behind those numbers? You've got some real confidence behind those numbers. Where do you get that history from? Where do you get your knowledge of these numbers?
Well, back in time, way back when I was involved with starting the Harper's chain, and obviously we ran those clubs for a number of years. And then for 5 years, I ran the Pulse Fitness income share portfolio. And part of the services we provide was a backs bureau. So I saw on all of the investments that we made, all of the sales coming in, all of the attrition going out. We also put all the strategies together at sales and retention. So I know the reaction that they all get. And obviously we learned some very interesting stuff about modeling businesses. So this is the truth. And, you know, there is no getting away from it.
Absolutely, and that modelling, as you talk about, as part of your competency, your knowledge around this really helps, because it gives that clarity, doesn't it? So, have you run any of these models with any organisations so far? Has anybody worked with you on having a look at this?
Well, we've shown them and gone through these with our client base, and to a person, it's a sharp intake of breath, because I think it's you can't comprehend that a business could be transformed so dramatically just by losing 10% of people on day one and a 2% increase in attrition, for the first year. It has that sort of effect. And so the whole game is going to change, as I said, Dave, and there's going to be a refocusing on the way that fitness businesses are run going forward, I believe.
Absolutely. And do you think there's examples out there in other industries and sectors that we should be looking at and thinking about? There's an awful lot of subscription models out there, the way Netflix operates and things like that. Is there anything outside of our sector that you maybe would recommend we had a look at?
Well, I think there are some interesting new entries to the fitness market in the boutique sector, and the ones that are growing quickly at the moment are ones that do not put a subscription model on their group exercise programs.
Right.
So, certainly our top advice to everybody in the fitness industry at the moment is to try to unravel membership and the Group X program.
Right.
The successful because the price of fitness classes has gone up at the same time as there's been a complete pressure on gym prices. So it's now out of sync. And to be honest, it would make more sense for fitness club operators to ride the wave of the popularity of Group X than to put up with all of the issues of overcrowding and the pressures that people can't get into classes and they have no money to run expanded programs when they really should.
Okay. And do you think the digital work that a lot of organisations have been doing will create extra demand for that group exercise?
I think so, yeah. I think Group X, because it's sociable and because it's done for you and gets us over a lot of the problems that we have of people not knowing what they're supposed to do to get the results they would like, they tend to gravitate to a regime, essentially. And Group X is that regime. I think the other thing we would like to see is the gym, the fitness arena, the gym itself seems to be the only room in most fitness clubs and leisure centres that hasn't gone through a transformation where operators have thought, how can I make best use of this? How can I maximise the space, the demography of the customers who are coming through? And I think that's what we're going to see next. We're going to see more science coming into exercise programs, much more programming per se coming into the gyms, because it seems to be just still largely a warehouse full of kit with a option which is have a personal trainer if you need anybody to help you, which is a pretty sad indictment on 50 years of gym development, Dave, I think.
No, absolutely. So I think that probably leads to my next question. You talk about 10% of people not coming back. You talk about an extra increase of 2% in attrition and things like that. So what are the sort of top 3, top 5 things that an organisation should be thinking about in order to address the challenge that they're going to face?
Well, as we've touched upon, I think you need to reevaluate the whole membership architecture. We need to strip out, certainly peak time, Group X from membership subscriptions. One of the things you're going to find, and every operator will see this, they have 3 types of people using their Group X program. There's people at the bottom who go in, the lower bands who train probably 1 class a week. Isn't going to make a blind bit of difference to them whether they paid you the bundle price at £10 a class or whether they paid you the £40 a month as a membership. Then you have the middle ground who get a little bit more value, but where it's going wrong is their top 25% of users are what Dave Minton, I heard reference them as cocktail users, where they do the spin class and then the Pilates class and then they stay on for the yoga class. And they're getting their classes for about 80p.
Right.
And when the costs are fixed at around, £30-40 an hour for instructor, so you can see the problem that all operators are wrestling with. And I think this is the way out of it.
Okay. And sorry, go on.
I was going to say the other one is just generally they've got to look at maximizing member value. And going back to your question about what other business models they could apply, I was going to go to Ursa pre-lockdown, and obviously I bought my flight through British Airways, and I think there were 14 opportunities to buy different things in that one transaction of buying buying a flight to I can't remember where it was, San Diego, and I think fitness clubs now have got to do the same thing. They've now got to look at the extra legroom equivalent, the onboard meals, the duty frees in fitness terms. What else could they offer to people and deliver it in a way that's tolerable to them? At the moment, we have this cheap membership or very expensive personal training. What's going on in the gap in the middle? And I think that's the opportunity where there is hundreds of thousands of pounds and which will get operators over this income deficit that they're going to face with the numbers that we're going to see.
Okay, that's really interesting. So you talk about looking at the airline industry, and it's quite an interesting way of looking at it, isn't it, with the low cost and all those types of things. But is there any resources that clubs could refer to? Is there anything that you could point people at to go and have a look and do some of their own research and have some thoughts themselves?
Well, I think it's interesting if you just go down, follow an airline transaction digitally and how they do it. However, I think probably the future of fitness clubs is to back off digital a little bit. I think the digital side of a fitness club should be bridging the gap between an inspirational operator and the end customer experience. I don't think the end customer experience is the digital one. I think it's a face-to-face physical one. The digital bit is just the medium that gets the idea home to the recipient customer.
Right. Okay. In a way that I guess is consistent with brand. You don't need to train it if it's a digital assistant, et cetera, et cetera. So it means that we can almost get going really quickly when we get an idea of when we can reopen and start letting people back through the doors effectively.
Yeah, and I think it means that clubs can offer some sort of differentiated service consistently. That's the beauty of digital. But there still needs to be somebody at the end talking to your member, giving them a value which they'll pay extra money for. That's never going to go away. And I think we're seeing that now. We know that digital as an exercise medium only works for a small percentage of the population. Most of us want sociable exercise, and that's why clubs exist.
Yeah, okay. This one's a bit left field, Duncan, and I'm not sure. It's just struck me as we sat talking about it. Do you think there's any value in competitors getting together in a locality effectively and looking at what they can all do together to maximise the impact that, we've heard almost every single government briefing, we're all allowed to go and get some exercise? Do you think it's worth people getting together a little bit in a locality?
Yes, I think so, because I think what we will see is we're going to lose the commoditization of fitness and we are going to become much more differentiated. So in the same way as restaurants, you can buy your fish and chips, you can go to a high street burger brand, you can go to a top end restaurant with a la carte menu. I think so fitness clubs will also adapt and be fit for purpose for particular markets. And so there is going to be huge opportunity to cooperate and share leads. It was interesting that the Ursa stats that came out recently, I don't know if you saw that article, but now the cost of sale, the average cost of sale in America is $126.
Wow.
Now, there are very few British operators who are spending anywhere near that to get customers. So anything that can keep that cost down, and cooperation is regional cooperation would be an obvious way of doing that, makes complete sense, Dave.
Okay, that's really interesting. And incredibly, our time is almost up. Is there anything, Duncan, you'd like to share as part of this conversation that we've not talked about?
So my top 5 things I think that I would say to people who are perhaps worried about the numbers that we quoted are: number 1, reevaluate your membership architecture. Number 2, reevaluate your sales funnel. You know, we need to get better again at converting more leads to more sales. We need, thirdly, need to program our gyms better so that there is a product for different types of people at different stages in their exercise journey. At the moment, we've become really the home of fit people, and we need to broaden out the base. I think we need to adopt an airline mindset to how we transact with members and go for more. And the other thing I would just say, right, if you're going to use personal trainers, move it to income share and away from rental. You know, the fact that our biggest operator has its whole service delivered by people with a life expectancy of 8 months should be a worry to the industry and not something that we need to copy. So operators have got to be into the promotion of their personal trainers and therefore deserve a percentage of the revenue as opposed to giving them a license to do whatever they want, which clearly doesn't work.
And of course, that realigns to the values of the operation and the brand, and it ensures that those people are aligned to the brand, which makes a real difference. Duncan, that has been really, really interesting. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure. This
will go out, well, we're actually doing 3 a week now, so this will be going out very soon. So thank you very much for your time. Take care, and we will speak soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thanks, David. Bye-bye. Bye.